One thing that I noticed is that one time when I was younger, I would say I might have been maybe in my 30s, mid 30s, I noticed one of my associates who was a Latina girl had this black boyfriend. And she was a pretty nice looking girl, okay? But if you would see her without her makeup on, she was just your average, everyday, plain looking Hispanic Latina woman. But when she would put her makeup on, it would really bring out her features, okay? Then on top of that, she would put like extensions in her hair to make it fuller, not necessarily longer, but fuller. So she had the clip-on hair extensions that she wore from time to time. She would wear fake eyelashes. She would wear high heels. And then one day she took me to this store in the area where she lives on her side of town. It was owned by her people, okay, by people from Mexico. She took me shopping with her one day, and I got in there and saw some of their clothes, and they had some really, really nice clothes. The way they were made, they were clothes that were designed and specifically made for Latina women. Because it's the type of clothes that you see them wearing at car shows and get-togethers where it's a bunch of them, like barbecues, family reunions, at the malls, just in any type of public area where there's a lot of people going to be there. They wear these cute little clothes that you can only find in their community. And I noticed that these clothes that they wear, a lot of high heels, a lot of skinny jeans, and they wear these blouses that are designed specifically just for Mexican girls or girls from South America, okay, or Central America. They're very popular over in those regional areas. And these shirts that they have, they're designed in a real cute way where when you put them on, they add a very feminine look to you. Okay, because I tried on a couple of shirts and automatically it put me in a whole different frequency. Okay, I felt very in their reality. Once I put that shirt on, I felt almost like I was zapped into a whole different world. I was suddenly very soft looking, the shirt made me more feminine and more attractive because of the way the shirt was designed. Okay, then my friend had on these pants that they were bell bottoms, and back during that time frame, bell bottoms in the Mexican community were pretty popular. She was trying to get me to try some on, but I just wasn't feeling that part. And you had to have a pretty small build in your waist, which I wasn't really tiny in my waist, and so I didn't really try any on. I didn't feel like having to go through the whole rack of jeans just to find one, that was in a 3X or a 2X that might have fit me, because their sizes their sizes are a lot smaller than our sizes. Like their 3X is probably our 1X. Okay, their sizes are more like Asian sizes to an extent. So she had on the bell-bottom pants and a blouse, and it really brought a very feminine look to her. And one thing I noticed was that in regular malls that everyday people here in the United States shop at, we didn't have those type of clothes available to us. A lot of our clothes, as just regular American clothes outside of the Latino community, fit different. They looked different. They were a lot more casual looking. The blouses were more square shaped, whereas in the Latina store that she took me to, the blouses were more rectangular shaped. And they were a whole lot more feminine. They were made with embroidery and a lot of flowers, and the cut was real feminine. Okay, so they have their clothes that are made a certain way that makes them almost 10 times more feminine than clothes in regular American stores. Okay, and these clothes, once again, I noticed were not, clothes in just, if I just went to a regular mall here in the United States, those type of clothes in that store where she took me can't be found in just regular clothing stores. And I noticed that our clothes, just as regular Americans, were square. A lot of the colors were men's colors like blue, brown, black. There weren't a lot of pinks and whites and pastel colors like in the Mexican community. A lot of their blouses are made in pastels. Okay, so see, the thing of it is that, it's not just you as a person, it's your community that shapes you how they want you to look. And in the Latina community, okay, where my friend took me to one of her stores in her community, they had their clothes designed and set up to how they want their women to look. Now, my question to black men out in the world is, what stores have you guys opened? What designers have you hired and set up shop to where you want your women to look a certain way? There's none. And so the thing about it is that I'm having to go to American stores to shop in. White men have their clothes set up to how they want their women to look. Very, very casual and plain looking. That's how they want their women to look. So that's how their designers design their clothes for their women. Well, since I'm living in a white society, I would have no other choice but to wear what's available to me that's on the shelves at these malls. Right? So if black men don't really find black women attractive, there's a whole lot more involved than just living in a society with your own people. There's a whole lot more involved, okay? In these other races, they got their clothes set up to look a certain way, however they want their women to look. They will tell their designers how they want them to look. They got their designers making clothes as to what they want them to wear, the colors they want them to wear, the fashion design set up a certain way to represent their women. Okay? And then Latino men back in that time frame were dressed in, like, they would wear stuff like slacks, suspenders, muscle shirts, sometimes hats, that sort of thing. Okay, and these Latina girls had their own makeup. They had their own the way that they would wear their own makeup. Some people call it, like, let's see, I think there was a name, chola makeup, I guess. And even just normal women would wear their makeup like that. They don't wear it nowadays so much. I guess in this day and age it's actually called the baddie look. You can find videos on YouTube to what's similar to how Latina girls wore their makeup back in the day that would draw their men to them. They had their own ways of wearing makeup. And so they didn't necessarily have to go outside their community to get with men of other races. It just wasn't very high on their list. They were more happy with men from their own community back in the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s, I would say up to 2005. And then after that, that's when I started to notice a huge change in all this race mixing and race interracial dating and all that kind of stuff. It just took a turn for the worst for the black community. But yeah, black men, the black community here in the United States, really, as far as from what I could see, did not have designers set up to style them a certain way of wearing clothes that looked good mostly on them. They did have a way of dressing, but it wasn't super feminine. Okay, they did have, like, back in the 80s and 90s and 2000 era, they did have a certain way to dress, but it wasn't super feminine like what the Latina girls were wearing back in the 80s and 90s. And they still have these stores available to this very day, but they're just not widely available. They have them very well hidden in places like, you can't find these stores unless you live in the Latino community, because they have them in their community so that they're only available to their women. Okay, and one of the reasons why they do that is because they don't want women from other races buying their clothes and being able to attract their men, right? And so that's why they took measures to only open up those type stores in Mexican neighborhoods, where these stores were set up and these clothes were sold. Okay, you had to go in their community to these shopping centers that were owned exclusively by Mexican people, and that's where they would have these stores set up that would sell these clothes that were only made for Mexican girls or girls from Central and South America, because that was their way of dressing. And you couldn't find these clothes at the malls, even though there's a lot of Latinos that go to the malls. At least back in the days they did, when the malls were more popular. None of those stores were available in American malls. Isn't that interesting? Okay, so yeah, the Latinas had their own way of dressing, and they know what I'm talking about. If any of them listen to this video, they're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. And with me, being part Mexican and having friends in the Latino community, I knew about these stores. Okay, and these type stores weren't available in the black community. Black men did not have nothing set up to where clothes were designed to fit black women a certain way. They didn't have no colors that they, would fashion design these clothes in. That we had to buy our clothes at the regular mall, and the only reason why we had a certain way of dressing as black Americans, as black and mulatto Americans back in the day, is because even though the clothes were made by white people, were made and fashioned and designed by white people, we would have to take the clothes and design our own way of wearing those clothes so that they fit us. But still, they were shaped and designed by white people, though. So it really wasn't our shit. It was just how we wore it and turned it into our own fashion designs. But black men never took any measures to hire anyone to make their clothes in certain African colors or African patterns or anything like that. They never took measures to do that. But the thing about it is that black men sit up here and complain, and we'll talk about how black women are not that feminine, black women ain't this, that, and the other. Okay, well, if you think they're not feminine, why don't you go out, hire some fashion designers from the black community, have them sit down and draw up some patterns of colors that you like as black men, and shapes and how you want your women to look, and why don't you put those in those stores, set those stores up in black areas to where the clothes are set up and fashioned and designed to your liking, like these people from these other communities do. But black men did not take any measures to do that. They just sat up here and complained, talking about, oh, well, you're not feminine enough. Well, bitch, what are you doing to change that situation? Are you hiring any fashion designers to come in and give black women an exclusive look that's just for them? No. You're not opening up any malls in the black neighborhoods to where black women can go in and buy clothes that are fashioned exclusively for them, to where they are designed and fashioned to black men's liking. They didn't do none of that. None of that. They did create really good music, okay, that everybody in the world could listen to, thanks to Krishna. But yeah, they created very good music and put that out for our community, and then it went all over, the world. They did that, but they didn't really do anything exclusively outside of music for their community. Nothing. So if black women were wearing, if they weren't really feminine enough for black men, how come black men didn't take measures to change that? So here's the thing, what's going on today. Black women are wearing the makeup that the United States has put out for their American people to wear. So if there's eyelashes that come into the stores, it's because American people, which is mostly white people, are behind it because they want their women to look a certain way. So if they want their women wearing eyelashes, they're going to put them out onto the market. And black and white women and Hispanic women are going to buy them. Why? Because they're available. Who put them out? White people. Why? Because they want you to look a certain way. The elites set up the fashion for their people to wear. We didn't go into these stores and tell them to put eyelashes out onto the shelves for us to buy. We didn't do that. Hispanic women didn't do it. So who did it? White people did it. Why? Because they wanted to sell their eyelashes. They wanted to make it a fashion, and so they made it available, because eyelashes have always been sold for as far back as I can remember, but they just weren't very popular until the last 10 years or so, when white people made them popular. How did they do that? They started designing more eyelash fashion styles and putting them out on the market in large amounts. And when people see that, they buy it. That's how that happens. Because somebody is behind the scenes making it happen. So if black men want black women to look a certain way, where are all your malls set up in your neighborhoods to where your women are wearing the type of look that you want them to look? Nowhere. There's no malls set up in black neighborhoods and fashion designed to where black men want their women to look a certain way. There's no stores set up nowhere. But if the white man puts out a certain look that he wants Americans to have as a whole, he'll set it up and put it out on the market, and the women come in and buy it. You don't hear, I see a lot of Latina women going into these stores buying these eyelashes, and they're wearing them. I don't see Hispanic men complaining about it. White men are not up online complaining about it. So how come black men have such a problem with these eyelashes? I keep hearing it day and night. I don't like the eyelashes. I don't like the eyelashes. They look like butterflies. They look like caterpillars. I don't like the eyelashes. The only ones complaining about the eyelashes are black men. How come Hispanic men and white men are not complaining about it? How come you don't hear Asian men complaining about the eyelashes? Nobody but black men are complaining about the eyelashes. Everything that black women do to be attractive, black men are against it. Have you noticed that? Or is it just me? Everything that the Latina women do in their communities to look attractive, Hispanic men are okay with that shit. They will give their money, they will give their women money to go and have their makeup done, or to go and get their nails done, or to go and keep their hair, conditioned and cut into layers and all that kind of stuff. They'll give them the money to go and get their facials done and all that type of shit. And they're appreciating it. White men, I'm not so sure, but I don't really hear them up online complaining when their women wear a whole bunch of makeup. I just never have seen any videos made by white men complaining about any kind of makeup that their women are wearing. I've never seen Latino men get up online complaining about all the makeup that Hispanic women are wearing. Once again, the only men that are out there doing that, black men. Black men, for some reason, don't want black women wearing nothing that's going to bring them any kind of attraction. They want you guys completely nail polish free, no manicures, no pedicures, no makeup, no fake hair, no fake eyelashes, nothing. They want you 100% pure, natural, so that these other men from these other communities will not look in your direction. Do you know how attractive black women have become since they've put their money into what these consumers want them to purchase? I'm watching these videos on TV that black women are in. A lot of it's crime videos, no doubt, where black women are out here as homicide victims, unfortunately. But one of the reasons why I watch a lot of those videos is to see what black women are doing with their fashion. And they are looking so beautiful in these videos. They got their hair done, their nails laid, their makeup is suede. I mean, they're looking like fashion models that have stepped outside of a magazine. They're looking so good. And it's like, sometimes I wish I was a guy. There would be no reason for me to leave the black race. Black women are so beautiful. Okay. But black men are complaining about it. And I sat down, and I was giving it some thought. Why are black men so against black women wearing anything to make them attractive? And I thought about it, and it's got to be because they don't want these other races looking at you guys. They don't want to have to compete with Hispanic men and Asian men and white men to get you guys. And so they want you to remain 100% pure natural so that you're not drawing in no attention from these other races. Meanwhile, the women of these other races are wearing the lashes. They're getting their nails done. If they need hair extensions, they're getting them. You don't hear their men complaining about a damn thing. They're allowing their women to do it. And thankfully, they want their women wearing that makeup. They want their women putting efforts into looking good. And they want their women to look a certain way. That's why they have their clothes designed a certain way. Okay? So Latina women wear a lot of high heels because that's what their community calls for. If you go into their stores in their neighborhoods, it's high heels, it's bell bottoms, it's skinny jeans, it's these real feminine shirts that are cut out specifically for Latina girls. Because Latino men require their women to look a certain way. They don't want their women walking around in jeans and t-shirts and baseball caps. And so they will hire designers to come in for their community and set up how they want their women to look. Black men will complain about the way you guys look, but they won't hire designers to come in and to draw up how they want you guys to look and to design it into a clothing style. None of them are putting any money into that. But they're complaining if you guys go and get a weave or braids put in your hair. Anything that they think is going to draw in attraction, they're complaining about it. Meanwhile, white men, black, Latino men, and Asian men, and Arabian men are allowing their women to wear all kinds of makeup. The only man on the planet complaining about the eyelashes, the fake hair, the makeup, black men. And you think about why? Take a look at some of these crime videos where it's showing how black women are, with these high homicide rates, all these documentaries on crime, and they show all these pictures of these black women that have been murdered. Look at how pretty those women look. And black men are sitting up complaining about it because they don't want you guys in a competitive state with these other women. They want you walking around with, short, kinky afros, no makeup. Then they sit up here and talk about how masculine you look, but then at the same time they don't want you wearing any kind of makeup, none at all. No fake nails, no manicures, no pedicures, no nothing. You're supposed to be 100% pure natural. Make it make sense. But yet they're complaining that you look masculine though. But if you take measures to look attractive, that's a problem. Well, it's too much makeup. They don't like fake hair. They don't like eyelashes. They don't like your nails too long. It's constant. It's constant complaints with these black males. But yet if you go 100% natural like what I did, no nail polish, no, not even clear polish, nothing on my nails, completely short, hair, 100% pure natural afro, short, kinky, And it was a medium-sized afro too, so it wasn't like super short. No makeup, no eyelashes, no nothing. I got absolutely no dates. Can somebody explain to me what is going on here? For several years I walked around like that. Not a single black man asked me out. And let me tell you what happened one day. I just got tired of the look, and I wanted to do something different with my hair, so I went out and bought a wig because I didn't want to relax my hair or straighten it. I went out and bought a wig, came home, slayed it, went to work. Guess what happens? A black man walks up to me that very same day talking about how much he liked my hair. Somebody make it make sense. Stares from black men all day that day. The next week I go with my natural hair, back to the same situation. Not a single look in my direction. Go in 2 or 3 weeks later with braids down my back, all kinds of stares. Suddenly I'm attractive again. But they don't like fake hair, but I'm getting all these looks though. So you see where we're going here? They don't want you attractive, okay? Because they know what you can look like if you were to put all the makeup on and get your hair done. They already know what you're going to look like. The problem is they don't want you looking attractive to these other races of men. That's what the problem is. That's the threat, because then if you start looking attractive, these other races might take an interest in you, and then black men are going to have to compete with them to get you. They don't want that. So they want to keep you as undesirable as possible so that you are always available to them when their resources run out. So in other words, when that Latina girlfriend dumps him, he's got a place to go. Because you're not going to be able to attract these other races because you're not putting in any kind of efforts to compete with these other women. If you're walking around, you're not done up, you're not doing really nothing with your hair, you're not putting on no makeup. Men want their women to look very feminine. Men want their women to look attractive. If you're not doing any of that, and these other women are doing all of that, nobody's going to look in your direction. And black men are not going to look in your direction either until their resources run out and they have to have somewhere to go. Then they'll give you a call, sure. Because they know you're going to be sitting at home waiting for them to call, because nobody else is going to ask you out. You're just as plain looking as every Jane Doe. You're just dull looking. Nothing special about you. Nothing is going on with you. So you're always going to be available to them whenever they get dumped by their preferences. They always got somewhere to go because nobody wants you, because you're not really in competition with these other women from these other races. That's why they don't want you wearing anything artificial, because they want you to be very dull and unattractive, very plain looking, so that they will always have a place to go when their resources run out. And that's pretty much all I have to say about that. Thanks so much for listening, and I will talk to you guys in a later video. Thank you.